Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Dearest Mother, Love Ruthie. Ruth Smallshaw Ray's Letters to Her Mother, 1948 to 1949, Part 36. This is the beginning of the original publication, Smallshaw Family Memories Collection, or SFMC number 5, published on November 3rd, 1997. And a letter from the editor of the SFMC, yours truly, Peter J. Ray, from 1997, quote, "In this issue, wandering Ruthie finally found where she belonged in Cleveland, Ohio, where she remained for the last 49 years and counting. Cleveland had more of a wholesome culture like Saskatchewan, and the bigger city had good shopping. Ruthie felt welcome, accepted, and at home at the student co-ed co-op at 2493 Overlook Road in Cleveland Heights. Her life was brimming over as she finally made progress on her B.S. degree at Western Reserve University, taught school at Alexander Graham Bell, and met exotic characters like Indian Shinto and German Bill. Bill was jealous when Ruthie started dating John S. Ray, the most handsome man in the house. They watched Cleveland Barons hockey on dates and double-dated with Wayne Duff and his future bride, Anne, often going to Oberlin so that John and Wayne could relive their college glory days. After a Christmas visit home to Regina, Ruthie returned and, quote, hit her stride, still experiencing ups and downs, but happy with her co-op friends, college studies, deaf teaching, and most significantly with John S. Ray, the love of her life. Peter J. Ray. November 16th, 1948. A continuation. Dearest Mother, Joe drove me home. He didn't go to art class when I couldn't. Darling, was it ever swell to get your lovely letter and all the news. So glad Bud was home. It makes me feel closer when he is. I'll just study for a little bit and then catch the mail. Mike just phoned, called last night too when I was at the Nursery Association education meeting. Sunday night we passed a florist shop and I remarked on the cute cactus plants in cat-shaped pots, and he phoned to ask me to meet him as he has a surprise. I said I couldn't, studying, so he says that he bought these cactus plants yesterday for me. Honestly, I shouldn't have said anything I liked. He wants me to meet him now, but I said no. Bill says I'll hurt his feelings if I don't accept them. And he stipulated that I am not to put them in the living room. Terribly anxious about Mrs. Plaster. What is her address? Love you, Ruthie. 2493 Overlook Road, Cleveland 6, Ohio, November 22nd, 1948. Dearest Mother and Daddy, how swell it was to get your letter today, Daddy, and yours Saturday, Mother. As you probably realize, I have a hard time keeping up with the work at hand, let alone get much letter writing done, and to see mail in my little box is a nice surprise. Daddy's letter hit right tonight. It is good to relax once in a while, and tonight has been the first in such a long time that I felt like I could. My last exam was over today, and what a wonderful feeling. So tonight being my own, so many things to do, a shower, hair washed, some laundry, my roommate cut my hair a little, a few conversations. Esther telling me about the fellow she's in love with, except that he's a Hindu, and she can't feel she should marry him. She's 24 and thinking she should be getting serious about someone. Then Anne in love with a boy in the house. She's 23 and doesn't want to get serious until she graduates, and her family won't like the idea that the fellow is lame. And Shinto, the fellow from India, came to ask if I decided to go to the football game Thanksgiving Day. I can't, as my roommate Mo has asked me to go home with her day after tomorrow for the Thanksgiving holiday. She has her own car, so we'll leave about noon. So on it goes, and here it is 11 o'clock. Time. But it's been wonderful living here in the co-op. You know how I've envied large families, and this seems like it. You learn to tolerate the kind you don't particularly like, and everyone seems so nice. They're a grand bunch of kids. Red-headed Ruth when I'm called. I finally saw Hamlet. Mike and another fellow came and we drove down, and there were 2 rows of us. It was a terrific picture, very, very good. I guess I told you that Mike gave me 2 real cute little cactus plants in cat bowls, but I figure I'd better end it there. He started to tell me his dreams so often, and I just can't listen. So after Hamlet, some suggested going to a dance. I was all for it, and Mike doesn't dance, so he left. Some of the other fellows brought me home, but I thought it was good enough to be cross about him leaving. So I told him I was busy every night, and he's asked me for a date every night since. I really tried to study Saturday and Sunday, but it was hard struggling. The boys were putting down linoleum in our bathroom until 2 o'clock Saturday night, and my room is a thoroughfare. After 3 unsuccessful attempts to go to sleep and more to study, Al asked me to go down and join the party, singing until they finished the linoleum. He also asked me to go out Sunday night, but I couldn't, and did manage to study a little. I could have done better on the exam, but am fairly happy about it. I did better than Dale, and she's working on her M.A., except that she says she didn't study. Funny, but she was talking to Al Sunday night instead of studying. Don't know the real results yet, though. It's rather a tough grind, to be honest. It's amazing how much you can learn, but on the other hand, it's hard to really concentrate properly. Instead of becoming more certain that this all is right, I just begin to wonder, why? But at this moment I'm glad and feel that it's all very good for me. I wished so much that I'd been successful in getting Bud started to university in the fall. I felt that it was more important than for me because I do have teaching to fall back on. But I realized, too, that it's only through working things out to a solution by himself that he'll really accomplish anything. I hope that he does look a little further ahead, not to what he'd like to have or be doing in the next 3 or 4 years, but what he wants to be for the next 30 years, following the next few. There's something about realizing your own potentialities that at times can be very discouraging when you face the actual facts that certain things have to be worked through first. Both Bud and I had lucky starts, and I wish that I could have been contented with the way things were, but I wasn't, and would always consider the green fields far away. I hope that Bud will start saving even on the little salary he makes compared to what he likes to spend. Although it's too late for varsity this year, by next fall he'll have enough that he could pay his own tuition and books. There's been a great deal of satisfaction in realizing that I've done some things for myself. Underlying it all, of course, I realize how much I owe to you both, though, really. I think that Cleveland College here has a wonderful system. You can work half-time and take half your college work. 2 of the boys are becoming lawyers that way. I remember not long ago when 2 years was so long, but when it's passed it seems short. I really, really, really do hope that my big brother will live up to his potentialities. Maybe my idea of university training isn't the answer, but it's a good start. And I've begun to realize that an engineering degree is a good basic start too. The fellow going into law got his degree in chemical engineering and works half-time in a chemical plant. Editor's note, John S. Ray. Yet a university student has a lot more problems than an ordinary working person. It's pretty hard to think of getting married on no money. Learning this anatomy has proved to me that practically anything is possible. When I first read this stuff, I threw the book down. I just couldn't, but I did, and more intricate than I'd ever imagined. I think if Bud thinks at all, somewhere in his subconscious mind will be the idea of the kind of person he wants to be and what he'd like to be doing in order to earn the money for the car and home he'll want someday. When he works that out himself, working for a higher goal than he thinks possible, he'll be okay. But Ruthie wants to draw pictures, and yet she's studying anatomy. Look who's talking about setting a goal. Miss Bender has arranged that I teach 2 mornings in the East Cleveland school where she wants me to teach next year. We'll see. Just think, Pat's baby will be Grandma and Grandpa's first great-grandchild. Bet you wish I were doing the honor. Pat has her degree, too. I really admire her and envy her, too. John Ray just gave me the envelope to address for our open house invitations, of which I am chairman. The kids have done a great job of painting and plastering the whole house. Cooperation. Good night and lots of love to you. Just managed to post Daddy's birthday card before my exam. Forgive my neglect and hope it's a nice day. Love, Ruthie. 16 Maple Street, Norwalk, Ohio, November 26, 1948. Dearest Mother, Daddy, and Bud. Hello, my family. How are you? Thanksgiving Day is over, and I don't think I was ever more thankful for the holiday than I am this year. Not for the dinner or anything particular, but for the wonderful, wonderful chance to relax and get away from it all. I never quite realized to what an extent of a strain I'd been under until I got here. I slept until 20 to 12 both yesterday and today, the first chances I've had to sleep in since I came to school, and believe me, it's so good. School for me was over at noon Wednesday, and I met Mildred at 5 o'clock downtown, and we got here about 7:30. We spent the evening visiting her friends, and some of us went to a couple of cocktail lounges. Yesterday we all went to her aunt's, about 20 altogether, and had a big Thanksgiving dinner. They're all so swell to me, and her mother invited me to come down for Christmas too, if I can't get home. It made me feel so good. Norwalk is a nice little town, mostly big white frame houses and lots of trees. The grass is still green too. We went for a drive in the country, and it's very nice. Hills and little streams and lots of trees. It made me miss St. Augustine a little. Last Thanksgiving I went to Palms. Just before I left, Bill told me that he was cross because I was going away for Thanksgiving. We'd had to sign up for dinner, and when he saw my name crossed off, he said it had been a letdown. He was also cross because Al had been over to the house. Al came over Tuesday night to ask me to go out with him. Thanksgiving night, and since I'm away, asked me to go to Horace Height with him Sunday night, except that I doubt if we'll be back in time. I'm a little worried about Bill's arm. He had a bullet in his elbow for about 5 or 6 years, and Sunday he was playing soccer and it moved. And the last time he showed me it was swollen with infection, but he wouldn't go to the doctor. No one would be there to look after him. He has a terrible complex, but it's only natural. Shinto promised me he'd look after him. I've become very attached to all those kids. I must address the invitation to our open house. Incidentally, I'm the hostess. Imagine me. Plan to mail your box, and I'm sorry I haven't, but will. We're driving to Sandusky tonight, and tonight we'll see Mildred's brother play basketball in Fostoria. Bye. Love, Ruthie. P.S. In Sandusky now and looking at Lake Erie. R.S. 2493 Overlook Road, Cleveland Heights, Ohio, December 10th, 1948. Dearest Mother and Daddy and Bud, the first real fall of this morning that I've seen in 2.5 years. When we awoke this morning and looked out, it was the first that Adele had seen in her life, being from the south. Snow. We had a few flakes one night that melted in midair. To me, this is just about the right time for it. Not too soon, yet it surprised me into realizing how near Christmas is. They have simply wonderful toy displays in the windows downtown. Last night it seemed like it might snow. It was so beautiful coming home from the symphony. All the lights practically in Cleveland were out due to a fire in the plant, so that it was a real blackout. But then the sky seems lighter and the city prettier. Bill surprised me so much by asking me to go to the symphony with him last night. I was amazed, as he'd barely been speaking to me, and symphony tickets are $3.60 each. We'd just heard Haydn's symphony in E-flat major when all the lights went out. They had a very weak reserve light that flitted over the walls and made Severance Hall so beautiful with all the shadows. The audience was wonderful. They began to sing Christmas carols from the first balcony, and soon the second balcony and main floor joined in, and the orchestra too. Oh, but it was so nice. After about 15 minutes, they postponed it until tonight. The lights were off for about an hour and a half. We had lunch in a place all lit with candles, as everywhere was. Bill was very nice and said that he just couldn't stand not speaking to me any more, and that he'd clean the hall and finish the sign Sunday for me, even though he was cross. He's still trying to get me to promise not to go out with anyone. Mike has been calling all week and wants me to go out tonight at least. I'm so glad that the symphony will be again tonight. He's been trying to get me to at least go to a Catholic lecture. I was so glad that the audience impressed Bill so well. He doesn't have a very high opinion of Americans, and surprised that they could be like that. He's going to New York for Christmas to see his father and thinks I should go home. I taught adult lip reading Wednesday night, and the kids at home got me to give the lesson to them for practice. I went babysitting after art class Thursday night. I'm going to get stuff for our Christmas tree, and the kids appointed me in charge of decorations for our Christmas party tomorrow night. I'll love that. One of the baby's parents asked Miss Bender and I over for supper one night next week. I'll have to tell Miss Bender, as she was out when she asked. The other Ruth at our house is moving next weekend, as Bill is admissions chairman. She put a note in his box to say she was leaving. He said then he realized how bad he would feel if I moved, and ran around asking everyone whose handwriting it was, as she hadn't signed her last name, and he was afraid it was me. I'll be looking for a letter from you. That is quite terrible about Merle's baby. What is it? I hope Bud works in the store for Christmas. If I had time, I'd love to work selling gifts. Maybe when school closes, I will. I'm hoping you're all fine. Love, Ruthie. 2493 Overlook Road, Cleveland Heights, Ohio, January 3rd, 1949. Dearest Mother, Daddy, and Bud. 1949. Years certainly roll on by, don't they? It was awfully hard to say goodbye to you and leave so soon again, but for the first time it was also very nice to get back to the United States. I seemed to breathe a sigh of relief once we left Buffalo and fell into a dead sleep for a couple of hours. All in all, it was quite a strenuous trip. 9 days of traveling altogether, but very, very worthwhile, and I enjoyed my holidays so much. In spite of it all, I feel I packed quite a bit in, and my mental attitude is very good. I actually stayed awake to the end of Dr. Gardner's class today. New resolutions: to get to studying. So soon as I let you know Ruthie's arrived and settled, I'll go to work. I got quite a bit of sewing done on the train. Fell asleep early New Year's Eve and didn't awake until 9 a.m., in spite of some hilarious partying around me. A couple of fellows told me next morning that they'd come by to give me a drink, but I'd been sleeping. A good idea, I thought. I was quite tired by Toronto, gray and snowy and dirty, and changing to the bus, they weren't sure if the roads were clear after the blizzard around Niagara Falls, but we made it okay. Of the whole trip, it wasn't until I met an American that bought lunch for me. See what I mean? He had such an interesting passport: Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Italy, every European country. Studied a year and a half at Oxford and Paris on his GI Bill for veterans. I thought of stopping to see Bev and Isabel, but wanted to finish the trip. I couldn't have made it if I'd stayed at home longer. I mean, back in time. I got back about 7, and the taxi driver must have been quite surprised. He'd asked me if I was engaged or married, and just as I got out of the taxi, Sam Lum and Adele swooped down on me. "Ruthie, you're back!" And New Year's hugs from them all, and Al and Esther, and then Shintu, and I was swept into the house. They do it to everyone, I guess. So you see how it's nice to get back. A lot of mail, including 2 letters from you, Alice, Frank, Connie, and lots of cards and 3 parcels. Yours, Auntie's, and Connie's. White gloves, but lovely. Thanks, dear. It seems so funny getting off the bus in my white overshoes. No snow here, and just like a lovely spring day. John Ray took me out for lunch to Howard Johnson's, and we were just leaving as Bill came in. He hasn't spoken to me yet. John asked me for a date for Saturday night. Between now and then, I'm getting to work. Michael phoned a few minutes after I got in, and John answered. Mike asked me to go out. I said no, but thanked him for the roses and felt like a heel. It was wonderful to see our babies again. I doubt if I'll get the teaching job. Miss Bender's sorry about it, but the teacher they have doesn't want to quit, and I guess firing is harsh. They were trying to persuade her to change to hearing children. All built. There are 2 vacancies in the house, and Dottie and Gloria have just asked me to move across with them. I was just getting to like this room, but nice of them to ask. We'll see. It's wonderful weather, and I certainly like Ohio. They just phoned from the other co-op. Will I get invitations to help with their open house? I love you. I'm going to try to cut down on outside stuff, but will arrange to get the invitations printed. Get John to take the form down. This is some of my Christmas stationery from the babies. Wee Dennis's mother said they had the camera ready to take a picture of him as he first viewed his Christmas toys, but all he showed was a very nonchalant expression. He's a darling. Part of my good mental attitude is traced to Mother being so sweet and saying she liked the black coat, plaid dress, and black velvet dress. I was a bit wondering on all accounts. I'm too sensitive, but the whole last year in Florida bothered me because Mom hadn't approved of the clothes I'd acquired. I so hope that Bud gets along okay. I talked to one girl whose brother got his CA but said it was a very tough grind. I told the kids about it and took credit for you getting you in the mind. Something like the 24 roses I got for Christmas. Exaggerated. Good night. I love you very much, Ruthie. Hi to Irene and baby Joyce and Ken. FRS. Lovely weather. Frank is going to Washington University for his MA in drama. Hopes I'm still going ahead in art. Love, Ruthie. To be continued. Well, that concludes today's presentation. Good luck to you with your efforts in family history. If this interests you, finding, preserving, and sharing old letters, diaries, and photographs, and interviewing elderly relatives while they're alive, you might consider checking out our website, Adventures in History with Peter J. Ray, at peterjray.com. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.